here every Tuesday night. And people get individual work also. It's not just me. It's many, many people. We'll have 30, 35 people here who do this work. And we send out that healing energy out to people. And we get phone calls all the time. We ask them to call us in 3 weeks and let us know if there's been any changes. And we get lots of phone calls telling us how wonderful it is. I got one from a guy the other day. He called and he said, I just need some clarity in my life. And so we put him on the list that night. And I got an email the next day, and he said, I asked for some clarity, and boy, did I ever get it. He said, I have started a new book, and I have got all this stuff done. And he was just absolutely ecstatic. Now, see, that's not a health issue. But many times we've had health issues where a tumor on the thyroid ends up being nothing more than acid reflux when they go back and have more tests done. But they've already been told the tumor's there. We get a lot of misdiagnoses, but tumors that when they go in to take them out are encapsulated in a ball of energy or whatever, and they just come out. They're not attached to anything. Because in our mind and as a group, we can visualize what we want to have happen for those people. And we can ask in a prayerful mode, and it seems to be a connection with the divine source, whatever people call that divine source. Mine is God. But we seem to make that connection for the person, and it's granted. It's like miracles happen. And they happen every day, and they may only be tiny miracles.
A miracle is still a miracle.
That's right. Doesn't matter how big it is. People who have surgery will call us and ask us to help them get through this, easily and comfortably and all that kind of stuff. We don't tell them don't go to a doctor. By all means, use those doctors. I do when I need one. I certainly go. And if I had to have an operation, I would certainly do it. But I would ask the group here to put the energy in that everything works perfectly and is easier than they ever dreamed it could possibly be when they did the surgery. I had an aortal aneurysm fixed, and they told me that they didn't think they were going to be able to go through the vein. And I asked the group the night before, I said, all right, guys, this is all I want you to do. I don't want you to try to heal this. I want you to make it so that the apparatus that goes through the vein goes through very easily, and they're able to do that without, having to cut me. And I went to the doctor after it was done, which was through the vein, and I said to him, so was it hard to get that apparatus through my artery? Because he said I had very small arteries. And he said, no. He said, surprisingly, it just slipped right in there, and he had this silly grin on his face the whole time I was in there. I think he was surprised, and I'll bet that he saw energy, that white light energy that we use from the divine source when he was doing it. But he wouldn't admit it, but there was something that was very simple for him, because even as they were wheeling me into the operating room, they were saying, I kept saying, you're going to go through the vein. And they kept saying, well, that's not what's planned. And I said, you're going through the vein. And they did. So, that's what we do here. We make it easy for people to go through these traumas. And I had no pain. I came out of it 100%.
How interesting. I have a dear friend who has had a tumor behind her nose, and ran out of insurance and had to go to the county of Los Angeles. And they diagnosed her with cancer. But when they took all her vitals and all these tests, they had her all set up for chemo and radiation and super chemo and super radiation. And this is someone who was always into alternative health.
Mm-hmm.
And she went in for 6 weeks and is right now in so much pain from the treatment. her salivary glands have been degenerated. She can't barely swallow. She can't eat. She has a feeding tube. She has gone through a digression like I've never seen in this person.
All we need is a name and age and what you perceive the issue to be. That's it.
Her name is Arax, A-R-A-X. She's, I think, 53 years old.
Okay.
And this is a tumor behind her nose that they tried to go in and get, but they said it was too hard to get. And who is feeling and experiencing great debilitation, and her functionality is decreased to the point of, I don't even know what to say.
Are they doing radiation or what?
They already did 6 weeks of radiation twice a week and 5 days a week of super chemo,
Okay.
which almost threw her to the other side.
Yeah. And a lot of times with chemo, chemo doesn't know the difference between good and bad.
Right.
It just takes care of everything. But we can get people through the chemo treatments. We've got it all documented, that they go through it with ease and comfort, and only that which is beneficial to them will get through. And they get through it without any of this illness, with any, they get through it simply and quickly.
Radiation is really brutal.
Yeah.
So
we'll put
Arax.
I gotcha. Yeah. It's got an X on it. Yeah. I just can't say it. The universe knows who she is.
Yes.
We get people who call here and all they give us is one name. They might just say her name is Mary, and she's so old, and she's got, this is what we perceive the issue to be. Or the results. A lot of times we want to know what the results is that you want from it.
Perfect healing, quality of life returned.
Absolutely. And see, that's a good one. That's good positive stuff.
Speed.
And that's what we'll put down there.
And speedy, full recovery into wellness.
Yes. And a lot of times that's all people get. Now, my stepmama had bone cancer. And she was a very ill lady for a very long time. But before she passed, for many, many months before she passed, she didn't need any medications for pain because she didn't have any. Now, there was not a healing there, but she didn't have pain. And she had a wonderful last few months of her life. So, everybody receives something. It may not be exactly what we want to have happen or what they really want to have happen, but everybody gets some kind of help from this.
How interesting. You said that you don't use dowsing for prescribing or for diagnosis.
Absolutely not.
Which
No.
I think is proper.
No, we don't do that. Even when I'm doing the diagrams of the body,
right,
when I'm doing the clearing on that, I would never tell somebody, oh, you've got a heart problem. I just fix it. You just fix it right then, whatever that issue is, because it could be that it's just the front part of the body that I'm looking at anyway. So it could be in their back. They could have a back issue. But I would never tell them that they have an issue, because that is diagnosing, and you don't do that unless you're a medical practitioner. But in the throes of ORI, we can do the healing meditations, and we do, like I said, we keep records. Every person that ever calls in here for help goes in our database, and we keep track of that person. And we've had wonderful, wonderful things happen for people.
How much do you think your effectiveness, both yours and Harold's, has to do with the intent that you come into your dowsing and the other work that you're doing with?
It's all intent. Every bit of it's intent. I intend that this person receive the healing energy that they need when I'm doing that work. I intend that, I find a good potable well source for this person. Now, I did some turkey houses one time, and the guy needed 35 gallons a minute. I couldn't find him a well site for 35 gallons a minute, but I found him something very close. And with the other well site he had more than enough. But, most of the time when you go out to do anything, any intention that you put forth will manifest. Our words and our thoughts are so powerful that we can create and we can uncreate with it. Our words and our thoughts are what create these things in our lives a lot of times, good and bad. We do it. We don't mean to, but it happens. And other people's words and thoughts can affect us.